Poon Lim, a Chinese sailor, demonstrated extraordinary resilience by surviving 133 days adrift on a life raft after his ship was torpedoed in 1942 during World War II. Stranded in the South Atlantic, he endured searing heat, scarce food and water, and constant danger from sharks. In 1953, a nuclear test conducted in the Nevada test site was witnessed by civilians, including a mother and her son, standing at a viewing area. These tests were part of Operation Upshot Knothole, a series of 11 nuclear detonations carried out by the United States to advance nuclear weapons technology. During the 1960 presidential campaign, an incident in Amarillo, Texas, captured the intensity of the race as Lyndon Johnson, John Kennedy's running mate, shouted at nearby plane pilots to cut their engines so Kennedy could speak without interruption. Johnson, known for his forceful personality and commanding presence, played a crucial role in securing support for the campaign, particularly in the southern states. During the coronation ceremony of Queen Elizabeth II at Westminster Abbey on June 2, 1953, members of the royal family, including Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, Princess Margaret, and a young Prince Charles, observed the proceedings. The event marked Elizabeth II's official ascension to the throne after the death of her father, King George VI, in 1952. The coronation, attended by over 8,000 dignitaries from around the world, was notable for being the first ever televised, reaching an audience of more than 20 million viewers in Britain alone. In late October 1944, during the Lapland War, a Finnish infantryman passed a sign left by retreating German troops near Muonio, reading, "As a thanks for not demonstrating brotherhood in arms." The Lapland War erupted after Finland signed an armistice with the Soviet Union, requiring the expulsion of German forces from Finnish territory. In the late 1890s, during the Klondike Gold Rush, thousands of miners traversed the challenging Chilkoot Pass, a key route to the gold fields of Alaska and Yukon. By 1898, prospectors faced steep inclines, freezing temperatures, and the burden of hauling at least 1 ton of supplies, a requirement enforced by Canadian authorities to ensure survival in the harsh conditions. In July 1898, during the Spanish-American War, Colonel Theodore Roosevelt led the Rough Riders, a volunteer cavalry regiment, in their most famous engagement at San Juan Hill in Cuba. The regiment was notable for its diverse membership, including cowboys, miners, and college athletes. Their successful charge against Spanish forces was a pivotal moment in the war, contributing to the United States' swift victory. In 1949, an assembly worker posed beside a weight and size model of the first Soviet atomic bomb, a breakthrough in the USSR's efforts to develop nuclear weapons. Known as First Lightning, the bomb was successfully tested on August 29, 1949, at the Semipalatinsk test site in present-day Kazakhstan. In 1956, the Teddy Boys emerged in England as one of the first post-war youth subcultures, known for their bold fashion and rebellious attitude. Their style was inspired by Edwardian-era tailoring, featuring long draped jackets, narrow trousers, and high-collared shirts, paired with extravagant hairstyles like quiffs. Influenced by American rock and roll icons such as Elvis Presley, the Teddy Boys embraced a sense of individuality and nonconformity in a rapidly changing social landscape. In 1940, Salvador Dalí completed The Face of War, a surrealist painting depicting the horrors of conflict. The central figure, a skull-like face with hollow eyes, contains smaller skulls inside its sockets, creating an infinite cycle of death. The barren, desolate background heightens the sense of devastation. Dalí painted this work during his stay in the United States, reflecting his reaction to the escalating global tensions and the outbreak of World War II in Europe. In 1929, a Turkish man was photographed reading the newly adopted Turkish alphabet in front of a bookseller, a scene emblematic of the sweeping language reforms led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. The Battle of Puliliu, fought between September 15th and November 27th, 1944, was one of the most intense battles of World War II. American forces expected to secure the island within 4 days, but fierce resistance from entrenched Japanese defenders prolonged the fight to over 2 months. The Japanese utilized a network of fortified caves and tunnels, forcing U.S. troops into grueling close-quarters combat. The battle resulted in over 12,000 American casualties, with more than 10,000 Japanese soldiers killed. While Puliliu was seen as strategically important for supporting future operations in the Philippines, the high cost in lives led many to question its overall value in the Pacific Campaign. In 1963, a young scientist, Abdul Kalam, who would later become the President of India, was photographed transporting parts for India's first rocket on his bicycle. This scene highlights the modest beginnings of the Indian space program, which had just launched its first rocket from the Thumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station in Kerala. In August 1959, the Little Joe 1 launch vehicle carried a Mercury capsule, marking an important step in the United States space exploration program. This test, conducted at Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia, aimed to evaluate the Mercury spacecraft's launch escape system and its structural integrity during flight. Despite the mission encountering technical issues, including an unintended early ignition of the escape system, it provided engineers with critical data. In 1850, Jerome Bonaparte, the youngest brother of Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, became the only one of Napoleon's siblings to be captured in a photograph, a remarkable feat at a time when photography was still a new invention. Once the King of Westphalia under Napoleon's rule, Jerome's life was marked by political intrigue and personal drama, often overshadowed by his brother's towering legacy. In 1966, George Harrison, lead guitarist of the Beatles, visited the Taj Mahal in Agra, India. This visit occurred during a period when Harrison was delving into Indian classical music, having been introduced to the sitar by Ravi Shankar. His interest led to the incorporation of the sitar in the song Norwegian Wood, This Bird Has Flown, marking one of the first uses of the instrument in Western popular music. In 1937, Britain's class system was defined by a strict social hierarchy influenced by wealth, education, and family background. The upper class, including aristocrats and landed gentry, held significant economic and political power, while the middle class often comprised professionals and small business owners. The working class, making up the majority of the population, endured economic hardships and limited opportunities for upward mobility. In 1937, burlesque dancer Miss Zorita gained fame for her provocative act featuring a live snake, a performance that combined daring theatrics with exotic flair. Burlesque during the 1930s was a popular form of entertainment, known for its risque humor, elaborate costumes, and boundary-pushing performances. In the 1930s, children in Finland actively participated in agricultural work, including the harvest, which was central to rural life. Farming played a crucial role in the Finnish economy and culture, particularly during the economic hardships of the Great Depression, when self-sufficiency became essential for many families. In 1899, a lady and her horse traversed a snowy winter landscape, reflecting the popularity of horseback riding among the upper classes of the late 19th century. At the time, horseback riding was both a practical mode of transportation and a favored leisure activity, allowing individuals to exhibit their equestrian skills. In 1902, Cretan child laborers participated in the excavation of the Palace of Knossos, directed by Sir Arthur Evans, a British archaeologist. The site, located on the island of Crete, was identified as the center of the Minoan civilization, one of Europe's earliest advanced cultures. Excavations uncovered significant finds, including the throne room, vibrant frescoes, and advanced architectural features such as drainage systems. In 1913, King George V of the United Kingdom and Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, who bore a striking resemblance due to their shared ancestry, met in Berlin. Both monarchs were grandsons of Queen Victoria, making them part of an extensive web of familial connections that linked the royal houses of Europe. These dynastic ties had been established through generations of strategic marriages designed to strengthen alliances among European powers. Between 1915 and 1925, an Eskimo basket maker from King Island, Alaska, showcased the intricate craftsmanship and cultural heritage of the region's indigenous peoples. Using materials such as beach grasses and sinew, the baskets were woven for both practical uses, like carrying food, and artistic expression. In 1868, Marie Spartali Stillman, a pre-Raphaelite artist and muse, was photographed by Julia Margaret Cameron in the portrait titled Memory. Cameron, known for her pioneering techniques in photography, often created works that combined soft focus imagery with dramatic lighting to evoke emotional depth. In 1948, Marshal Josip Broz Tito was photographed fishing in Yugoslavia, a rare glimpse into the personal life of one of the Cold War's most influential leaders. Following World War II, Tito united Yugoslavia's diverse ethnic groups into a socialist federation, establishing himself as a central figure in the country's post-war reconstruction. That same year, his public split with Joseph Stalin over Yugoslavia's independence from Soviet influence became a defining moment in Cold War geopolitics. On November 3, 1968, Queen Elizabeth II visited Salvador, Brazil, during her only trip to the country. Salvador, known for its rich cultural heritage and historic significance as Brazil's first capital, welcomed the Queen with great enthusiasm. In 1960, residents of Harlem warmly greeted Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser and Cuban Prime Minister Fidel Castro during their visit to New York City. The meeting occurred during the United Nations General Assembly, where both leaders were prominent voices for the non-aligned movement, championing decolonization, anti-imperialism, and social justice.